Imagine a world where history unfolds differently. A world where the Nazis successfully invaded Britain during World War II. This is the haunting and thought-provoking premise of Resistance, a novel by Owen Sheers, published in 2007. Combining alternate history with deep human emotion, Resistance is a story of survival, loyalty, and the unexpected bonds that form in times of crisis. Let's dive into the plot and explore the novel's powerful themes. The novel is set in 1944, but not as we know it. In this alternate timeline, D-Day has failed and Nazi forces have successfully invaded Britain. In a remote Welsh valley, far from the horrors of war, a small farming community lives in isolation, seemingly untouched by the chaos consuming the rest of the country. The protagonist, Sarah Lewis, is a young woman living on a farm with her husband Tom and the other men of the valley. But one morning she wakes up to a terrifying discovery. All the men, including Tom, have vanished without a trace. No note, no explanation, just an eerie silence. As Sarah and the other women struggle to maintain their farms and survive the harsh winter, a group of German soldiers arrives in the valley, led by Albrecht Wolfram. But instead of bringing destruction, these soldiers seem weary, detached from the brutal war machine they serve. Rather than enforcing Nazi rule, they offer an uneasy truce, helping the women survive in exchange for shelter. As the months pass, Sarah and Albrecht develop an unspoken connection, one built on necessity, loneliness, and an understanding that transcends their roles as supposed enemies. However, the outside world continues to encroach on their fragile peace. The resistance movement is active and its members are determined to fight the occupiers at any cost, even if it means targeting their own land and people. The novel builds toward an inevitable tragedy. The valley, once a haven, is drawn into the conflict, forcing Sarah and the others to confront impossible choices. Loyalties are tested and survival becomes increasingly uncertain. In the end, Resistance is not just about war, it is about the human spirit, love in unexpected places, and the devastating weight of history. While Resistance is set in an alternate history, its portrayal of war is deeply realistic. The novel explores how conflict seeps into everyday life, transforming people and places beyond recognition. The German soldiers are not depicted as monstrous villains, but as men carrying their own burdens, trapped by circumstances beyond their control. Set in the harsh, remote Welsh landscape, the novel emphasizes physical and emotional isolation. The characters are cut off from the world, struggling to survive against both nature and the war creeping toward them. This isolation heightens their dependence on each other, blurring the lines between friend and foe. The Resistance forces readers to question who the real enemy is. The German soldiers, particularly Albrecht, are portrayed as individuals rather than faceless conquerors. Similarly, the British resistance fighters are not always heroic. Sometimes their actions cause as much suffering as the invaders themselves. The novel explores moral ambiguity in wartime, showing that right and wrong are rarely clear-cut. With the absence of men, the novel shifts its focus to the strength of women. Sarah and the other women of the valley take on the roles of providers and protectors, adapting to a harsh new reality. This reversal of traditional gender roles highlights female resilience and independence, making the novel a powerful exploration of survival beyond the battlefield. One of the novel's most haunting aspects is the relationship between Sarah and Albrecht. Though they are on opposite sides of the war, their growing understanding of each other challenges the notion of absolute loyalty and enmity. But in a world ruled by war, can such connections ever survive? At its heart, Resistance is a novel about war, but not the kind fought on the battlefield. It is about the small wars within us, the battles between duty and desire, between survival and morality. It asks us to consider, in times of war, is it possible to see the humanity in the enemy? And when faced with impossible choices, how far will we go to protect the ones we love? Owen Sheers delivers a gripping, atmospheric and emotionally charged novel that lingers long after the final page. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more literary insights.